to 5 o'clock sweats. I am your co-host Derick.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Chris.
And today we have a list of games for you. In one of our previous episodes, we were listing some of the great characters in our opinions. So we thought maybe today we're going to list some of the great games. So what we've done is we've looked around the internet, seen what, a couple people were saying are some of the greatest games ever. And we went through, marked down the ones that we've played, and we're just going to talk about them. So, boys, the first one up here that one of us has played is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know who played this game. It's not me.
It's not me either.
It's partially me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this is, if I remember, so this is what year? This is like early 2000s, I want to say. So going back a while, but the only thing I really remember is that the graphics at the time felt absolutely astonishing, which I don't think would hold up to today's standards by any stretch. But I also just remember this was kind of my first experience with PC gaming, because I remember playing this on one of my buddy's computers, where, as I'm sure most of the listeners and viewers know, at this point I grew up, playing on consoles, so that was probably why I kind of checked it off on the list. It was monumental in that sense, where I started to kind of figure out using a keyboard and mouse to shoot things. So it was a good game. I honestly don't remember too much else about it, because, there's been quite a few Star Wars games since, but it is one of the OGs.
So this is one of those games that I've heard of a lot in my time, because I'm a Star Wars fan, but I've not played this game, and I actually haven't played a lot of the older Star Wars games. Is this an RPG, like a third-person RPG?
It's an MMO, isn't it?
MMO. I think you're right.
I think, you know what, to be honest with you, like I said, this is the one where, my brain starts to kind of mesh between the other Star Wars titles, like the Battlefronts and stuff.
Right.
But
Battlefront.
I want to say it was a bit RPG-ish. But at that time, I don't really know how in-depth it was, being in the early 2000s. But regardless, it was my kind of introduction to PC gaming.
Yeah, all I know is that people go nuts for this game. Like, there was that other Star Wars game that came out within the last 10, 15 years, and people are always, chasing the feeling of how KOTOR felt. So I know people go nuts for this.
I think they're remaking, or they're making a sequel to this, or something. I think that's true.
Yeah, we must be thinking of the same game.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be. There's no way we're not.
Yeah, but I think, aren't they making... it wasn't there talks, I don't know if this is true or not, maybe I just made this up in my head, but I thought there were talks about a Star Wars RPG.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
Okay, that's what it is. It's made by Massive, the same company that made the Division games. That's what it is.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. They showed it off at one of I think it was the Xbox showcase. It looks good.
Yeah. I think it'll be good. It's just, the question always remains is how bad is the monetization going to be? And how broken will it be at launch?
Well, yeah. I mean, Jedi Fallen Order, the second one, came out, and I haven't played it yet. It's on my list, but I know it came out with performance issues, like terrible frame rates and whatnot. So, other than that, it played pretty well. So,
other than not being able to play it and move and control the player, it was good.
It's sad that we got to answer those questions for every new game that comes out.
Yep.
One of these days, one of these games are going to come along and blow us away with how polished it is.
Not holding my breath.
Yep. I won't wait for that.
Yeah, the next game that one of us has played, actually a really good transition, Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. I checked this one off, and I think it's an interesting transition because I think this is one of my first experiences with PC gaming. I think Age of Empires 2 was the one that came on Windows 98 or something like that. All I know is whenever I would go visit my grandma. They had like an old, really old shitty computer, and the only game on it, like not even solitaire, no free cell. They had Minesweeper and Age of Empires. So,
Wow.
little me, what am I going to pick? Minesweeper, Age of Empires. Of course, Age of Empires. But
What is the premise of that game? Is it like you're building a civilization kind of vibe?
yeah, I
Like,
think I have fuzzy memories of it, but it reminds me of if Civilization, like the games, the Civilization games, met StarCraft 2. So it's kind of like a top-down, like troop management, like
Yeah.
real-time troop management, as well as getting resources. And I don't know if you conquered places or not. So maybe it's just like medieval StarCraft. I feel like that's my
a
memory
vibe.
of it at
That
least.
sounds pretty dope, honestly. It's an RTS?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I can remember is that I was really bad at it, and my guys just always died.
It's kind of like
The fog of war was rough.
that's like a dying genre of games. But it was like huge in the early 2000s. I just think like that was just kind of like the stylistic choice of, like gameplay. But I remember playing like Red Alert. I don't know if you've ever played those games, but it's the same concept. But like that top down kind of vibe is it's pretty neat. I think, not to get off track here, but I think Halo did something like
Yeah,
that,
they
didn't
did
they?
Halo Wars 1 and Halo Wars 2,
Okay.
which were surprisingly good. The stories were fantastic. The cutscenes were like
Yeah.
next level.
Oh
They
yeah,
introduced a bunch of like cool like Halo lore things, like new weapons and vehicles that eventually made their way into and actually the enemy faction in Infinite came from Halo Wars, the Banished. And, yeah, so those stories have kind of the lores have kind of intertwined with each other. So I hope
you
they make
go.
a third one because I do like those games a lot, and the online was fun too. Damn. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll download that again.
just reignited your love for Halo Wars.
I've actually gone back and I've rewatched, like, how YouTubers post like cutscene movies, like this game, the movie, and it's just like all the cutscenes. I've watched those a couple of times because they're that good.
All right, what's next on the list? What do we got, boys?
Super Mario Brothers.
It's
Like the OG. I think any
Yeah, I think we've
iteration
all
of
played this,
Super Mario Brothers is fair to add to any top 100 list. I mean, gosh, it was my introduction to Nintendo. My introduction to rage quitting. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
Good times. Definitely one of those games where it benefited playtime, and you could really, you could develop like your skill and your strategy, and that's kind of like the fun of like the side scroller games, right? It's like, for me, super frustrating, but it's like, it's always that like one more try, one more, right? Because you get so close and you're like, if only I could just time this a little bit better, or like not do that. You know what I mean? Like I could make it past this level, but I'm pretty trash at those games, to be honest.
I was trash at Super Mario. Like I only played it when I was at my aunt's house, and that was, not very often.
Yeah.
So like I could get through World 1-1. You'd go down to the pipe into the levels.
Yeah.
Would never get back topside. Like I would just always die
no.
down there.
Never saw the light of day again.
Damn. I'm going to expose
times,
myself because I actually have not played the OG Mario games.
Well,
You
I don't
probably
think
emulated somewhere, huh?
Are you big into Mario at all?
Honestly, I'm aware of Mario, and I've played like Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, which isn't a Mario game technically, but I don't know why my experience with Nintendo was very like narrow growing up. Like I only played a couple of games on there. A couple of them are on this list, but
All right.
yeah, I never really exposed myself to the Mario games, unfortunately. I feel deprived.
Expose him. All right. What's another game here that we were drafting up? Fable. So I think we can use any of the Fables in this case. Is there 3 of them?
There's
They recently came out with 3, didn't they? Or they,
Yeah.
They announced
or
it.
no, that's
They're not-
4.
Yeah, I think
The
there's
one with Richard Iowati, right?
I want to say 4, but I honestly, I'm not completely sure.
I've
Yeah, I
never
feel-
played a
yeah, I feel like
Fable game my whole life.
I've played 1 and 2. I don't think I've ever played past that. Right, you, Ryan?
I've only played parts of 1. I think that was one of the games that like came with my original Xbox.
Right.
So, or there was like a demo for it or something, but I did play it. It's one of the, I mean, there was no way I was going to be tackling a game like this when I was younger like that. I'm talking about Fable 1, not Fable 2 specifically, but the first one I gave it a go, and I think I put a couple hours. I played it longer than I did Red Dead 2, I'll tell you that.
That is not a high bar to clear.
No, not at all. But I mean, the idea was cool, and I liked that, you could make your guy, your gal, and you could, depending on your actions, you could become a villain or a hero. Like, I always thought that was a pretty cool idea. Unfortunately, I didn't play it long enough to get on either way, but my mindset going in was, first playthrough, let's be a good guy.
Yeah, of course.
And,
yeah.
But then there's always, with other games, like, I always want to do a playthrough where I'm just like an asshole.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
I feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like that was my first experience with that system too. So that when I got to Mass Effect, I could be like, all right, I might just be an asshole from the beginning this time.
Mass Effect. Well,
I think that
it's a good transition, Derek. Did you
gotta
do that
be
on
on this
purpose?
well,
Oh, it's next on the list.
Did you
Man.
do that on purpose, Derek?
I did not.
I think
Pat myself on the back there.
I was picking up on that.
So I haven't talked a lot yet, so I'll go ahead. I've played Mass Effect. I played all the Mass Effects. One of my favorite trilogies of all time, and one of the best of all time, I believe. It was at the time first of its kind, with like the conversation wheel. The customization back then was like mind blowing. The amount of things you could do to like your face, like give yourself like cool scars, change your hair color. But I mean, the options were back then like never ending. It's dated a little bit now, but the story itself, it still holds up really well. The gameplay, I mean, it runs at maybe 30 frames, or looking back. And the combat was like a little, like, I remember the combat not being like the best. Like it was fun. It was fine for what it was, a third person shooter, basic mechanics. But really what made it so special was, what you could do with your character, and like the story and the interactions with other characters, and, the way you could control the story based off of your actions and your decisions. And really that was the first game I played, at least, where, I mean, Fable technically, but this was the first game I played from start to finish where, I had that experience, and it was like cool, because sometimes I would do something not knowing the consequences of my actions. And I'd be like, shit, I got one of my squad mates killed by accident.
Garrus is dead.
Garrus is dead. Rex is dead. I like those guys. Oh,
Shepard.
no. Oh, I think Garrus was a Mass Effect 2 character. I don't think he was in the first one. But yeah, and the voice acting was great. Just have a lot of fond memories playing that trilogy, especially 2 and 3, even though 3 has that ending. But you got to start somewhere, and 1 definitely got it started with a bang.
When did 3 come out? That was like,
So Mass
11?
Effect 2007 was the first one. 2 came out in like 2009, 2010, and 3 had to have come out like 11 or 12. I feel like the development of these games like definitely should have taken a little longer than like 2 years.
all I know is that it definitely came out when we were rooming together in college, because I remember you tried to get all of the different color endings for Mass Effect 3.
Oh my god, the different.
Like I would come
colors.
back from class, you'd be like, I got the blue ending.
Yeah.
remember
Okay,
that?
I remember that. I do remember that. That you just like unlocked a memory from me. That's crazy.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you. Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010. So Mass Effect 3 had to have come out 12 or 13, and it was 2012. Wow. Only 2 years in between games. It's pretty impressive. I guess a lot of it's just like they're just using the same code for a lot of the games, but anyway, they got I think 2 was probably the best one overall. but one was at the time like game changing. So good. Who else played that? Which one of you guys played that?
Me.
What, Mass Effect?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Chris. I'm not surprised you haven't played that. I don't know what
No,
that
I
means.
haven't touched any of them. Not that I don't want to, but it's just I don't know. I just kind of like skimmed over those games, but they're on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, I have the Ultimate Edition downloaded, which has all three, like
So
updated graphics and whatnot.
that might be like a go back in time for me kind of vibe. But to both of your points, playing like an asshole, to use your words, the next game that I kind of took from the lists that we were looking at would be Grand Theft Auto 4 specifically. Now,
Oh yeah.
that there's no way to play like a good guy in any GTA game, right?
I don't think they allow you
You just
to.
can't.
They don't,
Yeah,
they don't let
and
you. Could you imagine like
this-
obeying traffic laws and whatnot?
This
I
is
do that
honestly,
in 5, and it's so boring. I'm like,
I
he
would
just made a left in the right-hand lane. Like, he really shouldn't be doing that in front of a cop too.
Where's your turn signal, motherfucker?
I think GTA 4 is the last memory I have of like actually using cheat codes in a game. And
Ooh,
like
cheat codes.
GTA
Ooh,
was
good point.
always known for like awesome cheats. And I don't remember if you had to beat the story in order to be able to use them or not, but essentially like you could spawn in any vehicle, any weapons that you wanted. There was like a ton of stuff. But I just remember like you could literally like we would play. Like, I would just pass the controller off to each other. And we would just, like, goof off for hours in Liberty City. You know what I mean? And it was, like, not even the online play. Just actually just loading into your, like, story. And just,
Yeah.
like, doing just random stuff. And that's, like, I think what all the GTA games excel at is, like, just that sandbox. Like, that open world. You know, there's so much level of detail. Even just in, like, walking by pedestrians or... God forbid you do something crazy out there in the streets, right? Like there's always interesting dialogue and there's always like some kind of feedback from the environment, right? It's like you shoot at something and somebody else is shooting back at you. You know what I mean? No matter where you are in the maps. Plus, my gosh, some of the jumps in those games, you know what I mean? You get in these like crazy dirt bikes and you just hit these wild jumps and you go across like an entire ocean. Or like, there's just so many Easter eggs and stuff. Those games have like a special place kind of, in gaming history for me, but specifically GTA 4 on the 360. I think I want to say that was 2007 or 8. And that was like, that came out along with some heavy hitters too. Like that's mixed in
That was
with
the
some of
golden
those
age.
CODs and Gears. So it's like,
The golden age.
that
is the
game
golden
really
age.
took me away from a lot of those games. So it had to have been good.
Yeah, I barely remember the story for GTA. A lot of the stories kind of just like mesh for me.
4 is Nico, my cousin.
Yeah.
I remember Nico
That's that
Bellic.
one.
He was the main guy. That's about all I remember from that game.
Nika.
His cousin Roman? Was it Roman?
Oh, that sounds
That's
right.
Yeah, because you know what? Because I started to
went
get
bowling?
pissed off because Roman kept calling your phone. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you fucking kept calling your phone.
I'm like, bro, I'm out here balling. Stop calling me.
That was like one of the first games where like cell phones were like prevalent in the game. You're like, oh, well, this is relatable.
Yeah, it was a little gimmicky though. It was like everything was done through that little Nokia like interface, and it was kind of
so
a pain in
funny.
the ass to be honest. But yeah, good times. Good times. Gosh, I wish I could go back.
I remember the multiplayer more for that game, I think. Like
I don't
just
know
like
if I
getting
remember
like
the
trying to
multiplayer for
hijack
that.
buses and just
Oh,
driving
yeah.
buses around the city. And it was just basically like who had the bigger car or vehicle to drive around. Yeah. Just ratchet shit. Was there something with goats? Was there something with goats? Am I remembering something about
What?
Goat Island or something like that? I don't know. Dude,
I have no
I have
idea what
some
you're
sort of
talking about.
memory about like there being something with goats. I don't know what it is.
For some reason, it sounds familiar, but
Well, we're talking about GTA, so to be honest, like you could come up with the craziest thought, and it's certainly a possibility that it exists. I don't remember any goats myself.
apparently, the Goat Man is a possible myth found in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh.
5. Okay, maybe I'm just getting my games confused.
Yeah, but
All right.
yeah,
well,
but both of those Grand Theft Autos. I mean, well, Grand Theft Auto 5's been out for like what,
10 years.
50 years, something like that.
Yeah. It spans the 360 and so far every Xbox since then.
still is like a million players online.
It was the first game I got for the 360 that I had to listen to this. Now this is going to make me sound old as hell. I had to go and get a thumb drive to plug into my 360 for like 10 extra gigs of storage
Thumb drive.
to install that damn game, because that was at the end of the 360 life cycle where like the games were too big, so you had to start installing them. And nobody's 360 had space to do that because they weren't built for that.
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember driving around in, what was the fastest car back then? The Infernus? Sounds right.
Something like that.
Honda
Yeah, it's like
Accord.
a Lambo, right?
Yeah.
Honda Accord.
Another game that I drove around in, also on these lists, Super Mario Kart.
These
Let's go.
transitions are-
Holy. This is like ultimate like party game, like friends getting together. You got what's normal racing, you got Mario Kart. Like it's, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
So-
it's
I assume we've all
Who's-
played these, right?
Sure. Who's your characters, though?
Ooh, good question. I feel like I always get all the shitty nerdy characters. Like I'll
Okay.
take Toad any day. Just
Dude.
because I
you're
know
definitely a
everyone's gonna
Toad
jump
guy.
on like Luigi, and you know in the new ones like Waluigi. Like fine, I'll take the
Dude,
the dweeb, the Krillin of the group.
take this as what it is for what it is. But if I had to guess one character for Derick, it would be Toad. I don't know why. But
I don't know.
It's not.
Something about-
it's a compliment some way.
Something about
Somehow.
what you just said seems fucked up. I don't know
It
what
probably
it is, but
dude. I don't mean it though. It's all from love. All out of love.
well,
Thanks, man. What about you guys?
So I was always like a Donkey Kong or Yoshi guy.
all right.
I don't know why Donkey Kong makes sense.
Yeah, I'm Harry.
All right.
You know, we got that going.
Hi, Harry.
But-
I'm Dad.
Nice joke.
I'd like to apologize for that formally.
Yeah,
That's
that's
my
good.
bad.
Thank you. I can't even.
Chris
continue
is
with that.
dry bones for sure.
Yo, why do you know this?
Oh, for sure.
Oh shit!
Yo,
Zed and
what-
Koopa.
That's a great
it's my
guess.
thing, bro. Yeah,
That's a
I always
fantastic
pick.
guess.
I call him old DB. I always pick dry bones.
I was gonna say Bowser. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Now you're just painting me as the villain. Jeez.
Payback.
Man, that
for
was a
when you
total
called my
shot in the
arms
dark with
short.
dry bones too.
That was such
Well-
a random guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it fits, because it's like leave it to me to pick like the most like obscure, like who the hell knows dry bones? Nobody ever picks that, but me, but me.
That's fine.
All right. Well, what do we got next? I mean, we kind of touched on like the Civilization games. I don't know if we need to really rehash that too much.
Nah. Played them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Gandhi sends out nukes. You lose.
Feels
Let's
like
move on.
feels like a history class to me. I don't know. That's not my vibe. But
why
you
I
know what
stayed
is my
away.
vibe? I'm just gonna go with all of them. Right? We're not gonna name a specific one yet, but Bioshocks.
I've never
Yep.
played a Bioshock game.
Wow.
You would like
Never.
them. You would like them. Yeah. No.
How many
that's,
are
There's three. There's three. Yeah. There was because it was weird. They did Bioshock 1 and 2, and then they came out with Infinite, which was 3 technically. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like a continuation of this. It was related to the 2, but it wasn't a continuation of the story. And I don't think
It's
actually
a-
2 is not really a continuation of that story either. They're all kind of separate, if I remember correctly.
What I loved about the Bioshock games is, first of all, it's like that steampunk kind of vibe. But there's
Little bit, yeah.
there's like not a lot of games that kind of hit that tone where it's like there are times in Bioshock, at least like Bioshock 1, where like you're actually like creeped the hell out and
Yeah.
like kind of scared. You know what I mean? Like
It's like a horror
but then
game
at the-
sometimes.
Yeah, but then at like the same token, then you're like using these crazy powers and then you're like gunning people down. Like it's, I don't know, it's just kind of everything you could want in like a shooting kind of game. and then there's like a whole bunch of shit in there that you didn't know you needed. Gosh.
So the reason what drew the trailer, one of the marketing for it was great, like the Big Daddy, which was like the big scuba looking guy with the drill for a hand, like so cool. I was always like, all right, that game looks sick, I'm gonna play that. But like gameplay wise, what drew me to it was I was like big into Dragon Ball Z back in the day, and like Avatar, and like you had like your ability in one hand and then your gun in the other, so you're like dual wielding your ability and your gun, and you could like shoot out flames, or like I feel like you could shoot out wind. There was one where you would like you could like stab yourself and you get like bees, and you could like shoot bees at people, which was awesome. Not the bees. Yeah. I always loved like combining abilities. It was always so much fun doing that. But 1 and 2, and then 2, you played as the Big Daddy.
Did you not in 1?
No, you were a human in the first one, and then in 2 you kind of got to play as the Big Daddy, which was like the big bad guy in the first one. Like they were like mini boss battles, so you became one of them, which was a cool kind of turnaround. But the one that we see the one that we see the most on these lists is Infinite, which was completely different setting. It was like a city in the sky in the clouds, and the first two were underwater, like in a dark, like rustic, gritty, like post-apocalyptic civilization. And then all of a sudden you're playing this one and it's bright, sunny, blue skies. Beautiful game, such a gorgeous game. And you're basically just like tasked with escorting this girl, protecting her, kind of like a Last of Us sort of situation. And I just have fond memories playing that game. I actually have it downloaded on my Xbox to replay it again soon. Did you ever play that?
You have
a
lot of games downloaded.
Yeah,
Infinite?
Let's not. Yeah, Infinite. Not Halo.
No, I don't even go there. I've only played Bioshock 1, to be honest, and I don't even know why I haven't played the others. But 1 is like, when I think of Bioshock, that is like the image of, like you said, using the flames.
Yeah.
And then I want to say, like, I remember, like, the Tommy gun was pretty prevalent in that game,
Tommy
too.
gun, yep.
So, like, that just felt like a vibe. But ultimately, what I remember is actually being scared of, like the game. Like, there were actual moments where I felt pretty on edge, and I think they captured that, like, perfectly. Like, you know, a lot of games try to do that, but it's kind of gimmicky. But I felt like in Bioshock, there were, like, moments where you're, like, really guessing like what's going to happen next, and then there were some kind of like jump scares, but a lot of just weird. It just felt like a weird game, but like weird in a great way.
Yeah, no, you never knew what was going to be around the corner when you were playing.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome game.
Speaking of weird, I don't know if you guys can see what's next on the list here. Fortnite.
Yay.
I've played some Fortnite, not a lot of Fortnite, but some Fortnite, and I feel like the one word I would pick to describe it is weird. At least back when I played it.
Well, yeah. But what was weird about it, do you think?
I think back then I didn't like the building aspect of it, and I thought it was weird how like into it people were, and like
Nerds.
I have no other thoughts other than that. Like, it just didn't feel right when I played it.
Yeah. I think weird's the operative word, but I think it's weird for a different reason, because you have fucking Goku fighting Midoriya, fighting Spider-Man, fighting Black Panther, fighting, I don't know, John Wick. Like,
Sick.
The roster in that game is insane. Chris, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, I think when I think of Fortnite, and I think like you have to respect Fortnite, whether you like the game or not, but I think the way I would describe it is innovative. I just think like they created a game, they took Battle Royale, and then they added like an entire new level of like skill gap. to it, obviously with the building, right? And we collectively, I would say we hated that because we are a different generation of gamers, specifically like shooters, where it was move and shoot, right? And that's like how I think. And I just remember trying to get into that game early on, and like the last thought that comes to my head when I'm getting shot at in a game is to build a staircase, like to the heavens. You know what I mean? But it really changed the way you think about like how you play a shooting game and kind of like the different mechanics and whatnot. But I think to Ryan's point, I think, you know, they've pushed gaming so far by introducing, you know, bringing in all these different IPs and these collabs. You know, my gosh, how many different movie characters, pop culture characters, whatever, are, you know, in the game. And I think there's just so much freedom to be had. And, you know, I mean, listen, it's what, like going on 7 years of this game coming out, and it's still thriving. And the fact that they can continue to innovate, I think, is something that a lot of other studios and publishers and everyone need to take a look at, because like this is, you know, how many times do we get a new game that says, oh, this is going to be a 10-year game? And you're like, I call bullshit right away. That's going to be a 6-month game. Yeah. And this is actually going to be the 10-year game, like probably the only one to actually do it, you know, this way.
Oh, it's going to go on forever.
And it's because they're evolving. And that's just what I love about Fortnite. Listen, I'm not super into it, but I just respect the hell out of the fact that you can play kind of any way that you want. You can be super sweaty, you can be super casual, you can just run around with whatever character you want. You can play build mode, you can play no build mode. Then they offer all different LTMs, like limited time modes. It's just it's fun. At the core, it's just fun. And I think a lot of games miss that. So that's why it's got to be, you know, included in any top 100 list, is not only for its gameplay, but for what I think it's done for gaming.
Right.
Yeah. I was when I played for like a couple hours, like a few years ago. It was my first time playing. My friend was like, "Go try Fortnite. You know, you're gonna like it." And I was like, "All right." So I hop on, and you know, I've played a ton of shooters, but you know, I'm doing my best. And then all of a sudden, like you said, like you got these kids building mansions. Like I shoot them once in the back, and they're like, they build a 10-story mansion. They're like, I'm like, okay, what do? I don't even know how to build. I can build maybe like a ramp, maybe.
Oh, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. But anyways, like they're like, you know how I hate movement kids. I hate building kids. Bob the Builder over here. Yeah.
Dude, it's insane. They run around without their gun. They run around with their pencil out. And like they're just like, and then so then it was like just learning to build, and then the building kept evolving, and then it got to the point where people are editing, right? Exactly. So like you're building and then you're changing the structure on the fly during a gunfight, and I'm literally on the ground staring up into the, you know, to, like I said, the heavens, and like it's the first time I've played a shooting game in my life where I literally felt like I should just put the controller down. Because I feel so outmatched, it's insane.
I'm out of my depth.
Yeah, like the time it takes to like put in that work and like grind it out, I just don't have. But the thing that I did have time to grind out was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, baby.
Oh my god! All right, I think we could do a whole episode on just these games alone. But I'll let you guys say what you want. But I'm ready to like kind of pop off.
Yeah, I actually only played, or well, not only. The first one I played was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. That was on the PlayStation 2. I don't know how to even distinguish a lot of the earlier ones, but for me that was just such a fun game, and I think what contributed a ton to that was the soundtrack.
Oh my
I know
God.
people go nuts for the soundtrack of all of these games, but you know, there's songs in there, there's bands on the soundtrack that I still listen to today only because I know them from Tony Hawk. Like I went to a Les and Jake concert a couple months ago, and you know, they're one of the ones that had songs on that soundtrack. So
Yeah.
always
For
have
me,
a special place in my heart.
I still listen to Goldfinger because of Tony Hawk. So
Yes.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 specifically, I think needs to be talked about the most. again, it's a soundtrack above anything else, but it's like one of the first games for me where obviously skateboarding was like the sole focus. And it came out at a time like in the 90s when skating was just popping off. So like it was just perfect timing. But the roster of like skaters you could choose, I mean, they're legendary characters.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist, Kareem
Bob.
Campbell, Rodney Mullen even. And like they had individualized stats based on kind of like what their real life counterparts were like. But it was like linear maps, right? Like who the hell thought of like getting a secret tape? Like that was always the most fun goal to me. Oddly enough, I actually got it was like, I don't know, they like not remastered, but they remade 1 and 2 recently.
Oh, I didn't know.
And I got it for the Nintendo Switch just because I wanted something kind of like to play like kind of handheld. And those games hold up. I mean, obviously like everything's like revamped, but like just going through a linear level is kind of fun again. You know what I mean? Like you just make your run, you try to get your high score, you try to get skate, your secret tapes, whatever little gimmicky goals were for that level. I don't know. It was so simple, but yet so exciting at the time. And I mean, you know, looking back, it's pretty primitive, but I mean, to be able to do a 900 in a video game was pretty dope.
A 900. Yeah, as a kid who grew up and couldn't skate for shit, and I could barely stand on a skateboard, like still. And it's funny, it translated over to the game too, because I sucked at these games too. But you know what? I still played them because they were fun. I would just like ride around. I would go up and down the ramps. Like I wouldn't even do like a trick. I did like a heel flip or heel kick or ollie, like an ollie,
God.
Whatever. The most basic trick off the ramp.
100 points. 100 points. 100 points.
But I was like big in the this came out in 2000. I don't know when Rocket Power came out, but I loved that show.
Oh, Rocket Power.
Up. So it kind of always thought about that.
I think what's so funny too about Tony Hawk Pro Skater games is like it stemmed obviously from skateboarding and skateboarding culture, but like the skating in the games was like so freaking unrealistic. It's insane. Like it was more of like an adventure game and then a skateboarding game, because like skateboarding was the means to completing like all the missions, but like just the shit you were doing was like pretty absurd. Like even like when you could ollie and like you could ollie like, you know, 700 feet it felt like, which was so unrealistic, which is consequently what I liked about, you know, much later down the line, like the skate games came out and it was like a more grounded skating experience, because I was like super into that. But definitely monumental in terms of any like action sports games.
Yeah, that game made me think I could skateboard, and I tried for years. I actually, speaking of something unrealistic, Steve Caballero in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I think his special grind was like whipping out an electric guitar and playing it. And
that's awesome.
What idiot who tried to skateboard and also tried to be in a band thought he could do that? This one. What idiot fucking fell off a curb with the guitar, chipped the paint off, and then got a piece of his skateboard lodged in his lip, and I can still feel the bump? This guy.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Definitely things I thought I could do. Nope.
Damn. Is there a video somewhere?
Thankfully, no.
Okay. You have a scar? Because I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, a little tiny dot here. I'll show it to you next time.
You don't know how I got these scars?
Yeah, I just got a little poke right here. Speaking of poke, the next game on this list, Pokemon. Specifically on this list is Gold and Silver, but I guess any Pokemon game will do, really. I think we all played these little pocket monsters, right?
For sure.
I dabbled.
The question is, which one did I have? I want to say I had yellow.
Oh, yeah. I had red, and then yellow, and then silver.
What was the difference? I can't remember what the difference was between the different... It was the same game, right? But there was like a minor difference?
Yeah, so red and blue were basically the same game, just colored differently. But there were different Pokemon that were only available in red and only available in blue, and they like encouraged you to trade with other people who had the other game.
It's like buying a starter deck.
Yeah.
What was yellow? Because that's what I had. Was that different?
I feel like yellow was like red and blue plus. I feel like it was the same game, but you could also have Pikachu follow you around, and like there were some other special things.
Yeah, I remember Pikachu being on the cover, I think.
Yeah. Dude, and then playing it on the Game Boy Color with that little worm light.
The worm
wiggly
light.
worm.
A little wiggly worm. Making a comeback.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Damn. Yeah, and then gold and silver, the ones that are, the ones that we've been seeing on these lists, those were the second generation Pokemon. So after the original 151.
Yeah, I don't think I played those. There was a Pokemon Stadium, right?
That's the best.
Oh,
that's one of the best
N64, right?
Yeah, I think it was a gold and silver Pokemon Stadium. I don't know if that was the only one or if there were multiple.
2. I had the same one. I
Yeah.
never played the original. I only played that one.
Those were dope because you got like close up views of the actual Pokemon and like you got to see the moves a little. Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't that the 3D fighting game? It was like turn based. Yeah, I rented that game numerous times from like Blockbuster, like Hollywood Video.
Yes. Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, those were good because I remember the Game Boy Pokemon games were a little bit more like RPG-ish, but like felt pretty, now that I look back, they felt like super advanced for their time. Like, I feel like you could put a lot of time into those games, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you could. I mean, I didn't, but
I did.
I did.
I probably played Pokemon Snap more than I played these specific games.
Oh my gosh, you would, bro. Pokemon Snap. So not a bad game. There were like Easter eggs in that too and stuff, but also felt like I was just like, I don't know, I felt like I was doing somebody's job when I played that game. You know?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too, right? Wasn't it like Bill the photographer goes to the island and Professor Oak's like, I would take these pictures, my dude, but like, maybe you should do it. He's like, yeah, okay.
Me.
But you would just ride around on that track, right? And then like the goal was to like, I guess, just get as many like variety of Pokemon, and there were some more like rare ones that you needed to try and catch, but
you got more points if they were like in frame more, I think. You got like Gyarados jumping out of the water at the perfect time.
Just a weird concept. Like only the 90s and 2000s could get me to ask my parents to buy me like a $50 game where I just take pictures of shit. You know what I mean? I don't even know. Like, what else did that was all you did in that game, right? It's just literally take pictures.
That's it. It was so basic. I don't know why it was so addicting.
Why did I love it?
Yeah, I don't know. I loved it too. Like I went for all of the 3-star photos. Like I tried to get all the cool poses for the Pokemon. Like or they would like shake off
like
dust
mid-fight.
or something like that, and that's like extra points or whatever the hell.
Well, you're a photographer, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, not.
You dabble.
Not professionally, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's one of the many hobbies I have and abandon regularly.
I use portrait mode on my iPhone, and I think I'm a photographer.
You are, man.
Thanks, man.
But I mean, yeah, really, like you were just a dude doing, someone's job, like doing his duty.
Yeah, Professor Oak wasn't paying you shit probably either.
Speaking of duty.
Oh man, he's killing it.
You can't keep this up, dude. I don't think. I mean, we'll see.
Now it's a challenge, a challenge. Call of Duty, specifically the one on these lists, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. But we've all talked about this on this podcast. This one's special for us, I would say.
Super.
Yeah.
Super. This is where I would say this game mattered more to me from a social aspect than it did for the actual gameplay itself. Obviously, the campaign was insane. Probably the best I've ever played. Yeah. All gillied up. There's not a soul that doesn't know that mission. And if you don't, then you do not deserve to play any games whatsoever.
Wow.
But I just think for us, like, this was like early high school time. So it was like we were trying to make a lot of friends. And I felt like a lot of like my socialization at that time came from this game specifically. getting into Xbox parties, booting people from Xbox parties if they didn't play well, or like, you know what I mean? Like it was always a competition to like not be the last one to get on, and certainly not be the first one to get off. And so we would just have these marathons of like these huge Xbox parties. Like we would max out the Xbox parties for sure.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember what the capacity was, but it was a lot of people, and it got so competitive. And it was like, for me, it was my first online experience for gaming, because I was kind of late to like, playing online games. So this was Xbox 360. This is like, what, 2007, I want to say is COD 4.
Do we know the game, the COD that came out before? Well, Call of Duty 3. Was that World War II? I think all the Call of Duties prior to that were World War II. Okay. That makes sense.
So this was the first jump into kind of modern warfare, obviously. But it was also like, I don't know, it just felt like, graphically, I felt like it was like leaps and bounds ahead of like every other game at the time. And there was just something so real about it. And then like you had just this crazy toxic online environment where you like, I learned so much shit. I know we spoke about this before, but I've learned so much shit about like just life from being in COD 4 lobbies. Just the stuff that, God, what are we at the time? 14 years old, 15 years old.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you're literally playing with like grown people, which, thinking about it now, I am that old dude that I was like yelling at when I was 14. But, just hearing some crazy shit, like stuff obviously we shouldn't have heard, but like, I think it toughened us up.
Dude, online. So if you don't believe in online bullying, just, go back into a Call of Duty, pre-game lobby,
Gosh,
God, it was,
you can now.
I know you can, and I plan on it. It was so mean though. But Call of Duty 4, that was so. Obviously, I grew up. I was a huge Halo fan, so Call of Duty was kind of like the Halo killer. Like that's kind of what it was like created to be in a way. So there was a bit of resentment like towards Call of Duty on my end growing up.
I think you and I have the same experience there.
There's there's definitely a bit of competition there, but Call of Duty 4 was the first one that drew me in, and I was like, damn, this is pretty damn fun. And then it didn't help that all my friends played, so I all that FOMO. But also we played. How many LAN parties did we have with this game? Like it was always, we either had LAN parties that were just this game, or it was always in the mix with other games, because this was that golden era that I talked about earlier, 2007. There were so many games out back then. That was just like the best. Some of the best years of our lives.
I'll tell you what,
were back then.
Those years, like there's probably never been a better few years for Mountain Dew's business.
Oh my God.
Than like those days. Because obviously that was like pre us drinking, any kind of alcohol. So like the LAN party was just getting turnt on Mountain Dew.
And they had the double XP.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then the marketing around this shit was like absolutely insane. Like they were basically selling kids Mountain Dew like crack, like there's codes involved. And then Doritos, there were like codes for the games with Doritos. It's like, and like, I don't know, like you're eating pizza rolls, Doritos, and Mountain Dew, and like your eyes are bloodshot because you've just been grinding COD. But I think, and Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, since you're kind of like the Halo expert here, but I believe COD 4 was one of the earliest shooting games, like especially online, to have like a pretty robust like grind to it, like progression, right? Because it was all about getting camos in COD 4, like weapon camos, right? And then of course you had your natural rank, but I feel like the weapon camo progression was like, I mean, that's honestly what kept me going. Is everyone wanted to get blue tiger, then red tiger, and then you wanted to get it gold. Right, it was pretty simple back then, but those were well, like you were trying to get it for all the guns, right? Even like the obscure guns.
Yeah, no, I loved grinding the gun camos in that game, and I do remember. I feel like every weapon in that game was overpowered. Like, remember was the ACR, was that in Call of Duty 4?
No, so that came in Call of Duty 2. So the OP guns in COD 4 were the MP5. the
always my favorite.
the M4, the sniper rifles. There was like the R700. Then there was like the M4A something, I think, which was another sniper rifle. And then the big ones though were the Barrett 50 cal. Like I think you had to get to max level to get the 50 cal sniper, and then that was like, you know, like the big wow factor. What else? Like AK-47 was there. It wasn't the G36C. That was a big one.
I remember that one. Yeah.
That's a, you know, all these years later, you can still rattle that off.
That's cool. Dude, I know them all. But yeah, I mean, it was like the first game I found where it's like you're not only playing for the fun factor, but like there was like some kind of grind to it. And I had not had that for any game, you know, up until that point. So I think that's one of the reasons it's pretty special for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I think for me it was just terrifying because I was not good at that game, y'all. I did come from Halo, like Ryan said, and like it when you're just on a map that you don't know with people that have been playing these games forever, and you know maybe 2 of the 3 people in your party know what they're doing, like you're just going to be in the corner, like cowering for your life. And in my experience, they leave you for dead.
They do. And then they will, they'll make your life a living hell. Like, so when I see what you did there. So when you play with friends, or even when you would play with randoms, like they're screaming at you. Somebody's yelling at you for not playing well. So it was always a race to be at the top of the leaderboards. But anyway, I'll let you. It there. I'll let you work your magic here. I see where you're going with this.
Speaking of being left for dead, Left for Dead. I played. Oh, how many of these did they come out with? I don't even remember. At least 2.
There's 4
2?
technically, right? Well, is there back? No. Is Back for Blood? No. That's like
that's a completely different IP. I think.
Back for
Same creators,
Blood is
right?
It's Valve. And it's supposed to be like I think so. I could be wrong. I think it is Valve.
I think it was like a.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
But it's like.
No, it's just like sort of like a spin-off.
Turtle Rock Studios. Interesting.
Oh, never mind.
But yeah, I played the Left 4 Dead games. I do not enjoy replaying the Left 4 Dead games.
Really?
For me, they are a go through all the campaign stuff once, and that's about it. Like I don't enjoy going back through them again.
They were like, I felt like the campaigns were super like lackluster. I mean, like the stories were pretty lame, and it was just like a speed run game. But what I did love about Left 4 Dead is it was like mindless, just farming. You know what I mean? You could just train train the zombies and just like, you know, you never felt like, I mean, obviously you could up the difficulty, but like you never felt like too challenged on like the basic difficulties. So it was kind of just, I always liked it to just like turn off the brain and just basically do exactly what it intended to, which is just mow down zombies. And like they had a lot of creative ways to do it with melee weapons and guns. The only thing I always disliked is like you could never aim down sights in those games. So it was just like you're just kind of like hip firing. There was nothing like super special, but they were just fun enough to play. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't really feel like thinking about what I'm doing, so I'll just play Left 4 Dead. But I will say they did have this crazy, creepy clowns in Left 4 Dead 2.
Oh, I remember those. I only played a little bit, but I played only a little bit, but I do remember those. Yeah, so I don't like clowns. You're anti-clown.
No, I'm anti-clown. So when I have like a Mac 10 and there's like a train of clowns coming at me, like I'm feeling myself there. It gets a little personal.
Oh, okay, man, I do remember these guys. I looked them up.
Those poor clowny clowns.
Also, the characters were somewhat iconic. Like you had Coach. Coach was like just the stereotypical like gym coach guy. Like, come on.
I'm just thinking of Coach from New Girl.
Hey, I mean, either way you look at it, Coach from New Girl, Coach from Left 4 Dead, both absolute legends.
Legends.
Speaking of legends,
I can't believe you did that.
Legend of Zelda. On these lists, the Wind Waker, very specifically, which is very specifically my favorite Zelda game of all time. I played this on the GameCube for hours a day. Just like, after I beat the story or didn't have anything else to do, I would legitimately just sail around in my boat and like go island to island like I had chores to do or something. Like I loved that game. The animation style, the soundtrack was phenomenal. Now I want to replay it. Did you guys ever play this one?
No, I have not. So I'll be honest, like my favorite Zelda game is Ocarina of Time. And there's just nothing that Zelda can come out with, or not Zelda, but like there's no Zelda game that can come out that will knock that down for me. Obviously we'll kind of talk about some of the newer ones later, but you guys already know how I feel. So Ocarina of Time is the only one that I felt worth my time. And I know that is a huge, probably like a hot take.
I liked Ocarina of Time.
I mean, yeah, I've never even heard of it, honestly, until I saw on this list. So,
oh my God, this guy.
I live under a rock, I guess.
All right, well, we know that these games are good. We don't have enough time to go through the rest of what we've played, so we will save that for another future episode. But here we're going to do another recurring segment, and I think the name that we've landed on is Off the Clock. So, again, this is, this week, this upcoming week, between now and next week's episode, what are you excited to do once you are off the clock? Once 5 o'clock hits? Anybody want to start here?
I'll go ahead. So, there's a couple of things, honestly, and can I name two things? I'm just gonna name like two things I want to do specifically. So, I started a new anime recently called Vinland Saga, which is very good. Season 1 was phenomenal, action-packed. Season 2, I've heard great things about it. I've heard mixed things about it, but it seems like the majority of people are calling it a masterpiece. But the general consensus is that action is definitely, peeled back a bit. And I'm like 8 episodes in right now, and I'm definitely feeling that. Like there's only been like a couple of like fights, but the characters are so well realized, and the one character in particular, it's interesting seeing his transition from season 1 to season 2 and him becoming like an actual person. So if you've seen the show, you know. But I'm excited to get my teeth into season 2 more and see where his story goes. And then the other thing, which was just brought to my attention, is that the local theater around here is showing Oppenheimer in IMAX 70 millimeter, which is the way Christopher Nolan and God intended to watch that movie. So I
was going to ask you after the last episode recording, because after the last episode recording, I looked up exactly what projector they had in the theater that you saw Oppenheimer in.
Was not 70 millimeter, but it was still amazing. I don't know enough about like cinematography to like know exactly what the 7 millimeter does to the film. But I know that's the way Nolan wants people to see. Like that's the optimal way to watch it. So and I need to see it again anyway because it's one of those 2-timer movies. So I'm gonna make time in the next week or two to go see that in theaters in 70 millimeter, and I will report back my findings.
Nice. Chris, you got anything?
For me, Ryan and I kind of stumbled upon this the other night, but I'm looking to sort of dive in deeper, hitting that nostalgia. But I want to go back and play some of the older Gears of War games again.
Oh yeah,
we were kind of doing that the other night, and when we got off, I just had like the craziest like nostalgia. It was like really odd, but it's like really fun to go back and try games that had like a lot of meaning to you. Like, I mean, this is well over 10 years ago. Some of this is like going back 15 years. And it's just so strange. It feels like it was yesterday. So I'm looking forward to that, to probably playing a little bit of Gears 1. Ryan and I talked about maybe doing some of the campaigns a bit because, Gears had co-op campaigns. I don't know if I'm going to play too much of the multiplayer. We were just kind of getting trashed, and it feels a little like clunky to go back to, but
dude, just crazy.
Being on the game just feels good. Like the menus, the music, like just all of that feels good. So I at least want to kind of jump into the campaigns a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at. Hopefully I'll get to that after work. If I can find some free time.
I believe in you.
And for me, I guess technically as of recording, it's my weekend. I took the rest of the week off just because I've got a couple of birthdays coming up. As we're recording, my brother-in-law's birthday is tomorrow. I've got another high school buddy's birthday on Saturday. Another buddy of mine is the week after that. Shout out JSP. And, yeah, just a whole slew of birthdays coming up.
We also have another birthday on this show coming up soon. So.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, all of our birthdays are coming up.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, he's smiling. He's smiling.
It's not me, obviously. Well, not obviously if you don't know who I am, but it's not me. And it ain't Derick, so there's only one person who it could be.
There he is. The only other thing that I'm doing this week, I'm still working my way through those Studio Ghibli movies. I made it through only yesterday, which I said, despite being 32 years old, somehow that movie made me feel nostalgic, for my childhood as a little Japanese girl. That's how that movie went. Porco Rosso, very good. Nice little pirate with ace pilots mixed with Casablanca. And I just finished Ocean Waves today, which was a hour-long romantic drama I was not expecting.
It sounds like right up your alley.
I really liked the music. The pacing on it was weird because I think it's one of those that's like adapted from, an episodic novel or something like that. But
so how many is that now that you've seen?
Oof, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think I've got like 16 more to go or something like that.
You're plowing through them. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you. Thank you for watching if you're watching. Thank you for listening if you're listening. You can find our podcast on Twitter at 5 o'clock sweats, Instagram at 5 o'clock sweats. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or probably most podcatchers at this point. Anything else I'm forgetting, boys?
Go Birds.
Go Birds,
Go
baby.
Birds.
Go Birds.
First day of actual training camp. Let's go. Big season
Bang.
coming up.
All right, ready? We're doing it without the count this time. Ready?
All right. Wait, stay sweaty?
Stay sweaty.
Okay.
All right, ready? Stay sweaty.
Stay sweaty. Not
We
bad.
can't count every time, right?
No. We gotta, we're gonna develop chemistry and we're gonna be in sync. We're gonna be on each other's.
We're gonna
have the same
chemistry.
cycle. We're gonna have the same.
Once we hit 17 years of chemistry, that's where it'll finally pop off.
Yeah, it'll fly by.
Speaking of fly,